two comments after the intervention I'd made. One is on the issue of the basic structure. And I want to refer back to my submissions yesterday when I talked about the romanticism that accompanies the word's basic structure. And I say the word's basic structure are not supposed to reflect something you go looking for in a constitution. It would be in the words we use when we talk about the spirit of a constitution, when we talk about the Grundnorm of a constitution. You really cannot take any particular text of a constitution and start saying that you're looking for its Grundnorm and say that it will be found in this article or in this section. Neither can you very specifically start looking for the spirit of the constitution. I think the position we are is that the word's basic structure, much as they are used to reflect a theory in constitutions, in constitution making, they have unfortunately been imported to almost be a legal tool that can be used even in litigation. And I am saying that when you think about the word's basic structure, you must also think about whether you can give similar significance to the word Grundnorm and go looking for it, and whether you can give similar significance to the issue of the spirit of the Constitution, which is always talked about. But I have never seen any court specifically go looking for a spirit of the Constitution in any particular articles. On the issue of the referendum questions, my opinion is that there is always a mix-up when we talk about referendum as it is in the Elections Act and referendum as it is in Article 16. And there is a lot of mix-up between the referendum as you discussed the two. For instance, the phrase about framing the question is a very specific phrase that relates to a referendum that is conducted under the Elections Act. And it talks about an issue arising. The issue is taken to Parliament, which approves that the issue should be taken for referendum. And it talks then about IEBC framing the question that will represent that referendum. And for IEBC determining whether the issue to be resolved by referendum will be resolved in one question or in two questions. But if you go to Chapter 16, when it comes to amendment, there is no issue of raising questions when it comes to Chapter 16. And Chapter 16 talks of taking the bill to a referendum. So there are no questions. And if there would be a question, it would be a vote on whether you accept the bill or not. That is one perspective. But the second perspective would be that you cannot have single items taken to the people, because a lot of issues that have to go into constitutions are negotiated. In fact, very many, and I'll give the example, if imagining that the current constitution had been taken as different questions for adoption, one can immediately begin to imagine how many things would never have passed. Is it possible that with all the noise that there was, that a Christian majority would have gone and voted in for the protection of the Catholic courts had they been separate questions? So the idea of not allowing separate questions is because then constitution making becomes, you remove the negotiation from constitution making and make it a question of majority vote. While sometimes you need to tell the majority that they will not get what they want unless they accept what a minority wants. So even in public policy, they have to be separate questions. And lastly, on the four sequential steps, my opinion of this is that this was pure legislation from the judiciary. There is no reason, and I said yesterday that the assumption that having a constituent assembly is the best practice in constitution making assumes that it's a universal practice. We have not yet accepted that making constitution through constituent assemblies is actually the best practice in the world. So for it to be recommended to Kenya would be, was it because it's a best practice internationally, or because that is what the judge thought is what the way should go? Thank you.
Your Lordships, so that I defend my position, first of all, I associate myself fully with all my seniors who have submitted on that line. But in